Not got in a Flash, keeping Flash accessible in web archives. This presentation will cover a collaboration between Web Recorder and the National Film Board of Canada. First, I'll cover the various approaches to keeping Flash accessible, including the general framework that we've developed with contributions from the NFB. Then, my colleague Humbert will cover how this system has been in use at the National Film Board. As you're all probably aware, as of 2021, Flash is no longer available in modern browsers. Many Flash projects still exist in web archives and on the live web, of course. But we've been working on a few different approaches to preserve access to Flash. There's the PyWB remote browser system, which we'll cover throughout this presentation, but I also wanted to mention the archive web page system and the old Web Today system. Here's a brief table outlining these different approaches. With Ruffle, an in-browser emulator, we're able to run Flash directly in the browser through WebAssembly. However, Ruffle does not yet support all versions of Flash. With the in-browser emulation system, we can run complex browsers directly emulated in the browser. However, the full fidelity of the emulation is not quite there. Finally, the remote browser system provides access to all versions of Flash, and we can get it to run at quite reasonable fidelity and speed, but there's a cost per user as the system runs on the server. This system is part of Conifer as well as the classic Old Web Today, and also available as a standalone PyWB remote browsers, which I'll demo later. A brief history of the remote browser system. So remote web browsers is essentially the idea of running browsers in Linux Docker containers. And it's sort of emulation light in a way. Browser runs in a container, and we stream the output of the browser to the user. The system was initially developed for Old Web Today in 2015 to support old browsers from the 90s. It was added to Web Recorder, now Conifer, hosted service in 2016 to support newer browsers with Flash and Java. The initial version of the system did not support audio. In 2017, Web Recorder, at the time through Rhizome, started a collaborative R&D effort with the National Film Board. The intent was to investigate the best approach to preserving NFB's Flash-based works. And we wanted to ensure that this system could support smooth video and audio in remote browsers, and for the system to be available as part of our existing open source remote browser framework. So here's a brief architecture of how the system works. It's all Docker-based. Each of these circles here represents a Docker image, and we use Docker and Docker Compose. The main shepherd image here manages what we call flocks of browsers, which is these two Docker containers. One is for the browser, which changes based on which browser you use, Chrome, Firefox, etc. And then the remote desktop container, which contains the infrastructure necessary to run VNC and WebRTC and so forth. And then, of course, we have PyWB, which provides access to the web archives through a proxy server. And we also have the WebRTC turn server, which is necessary to establish the WebRTC connection. Finally, there's an optional Nginx that can stay in front of this and make it easier to run this on a single port. So some of the challenges of this system. The remote browser system uses VNC initially, and that provides great support for video and for video output from the browsers, as well as handling input, but no audio. And so we've explored a few different options for audio. One is to stream the audio over a WebSocket, which is simpler but produces more lag. And the other option is to stream audio over WebRTC audio, which is much more complex, but turns out to have much less lag than the WebSocket option. There's also considerations for how to keep CPU usage at a minimum, since each browser does have a cost of CPU usage on the system that's running it. And also how to support WebRTC in this environment. We needed to set up a custom WebRTC driver using GStreamer, and this was implemented in Python. And we also needed to add a turn server that can route traffic from the client user into the remote browser and establish that connection. And so at the end, the remote browser system has these three options available. We have VNC plus WebSocket audio. We also have VNC plus WebRTC audio, and then we also have full WebRTC for both video and audio. As it turned out, the hybrid of VNC for video as well as WebRTC for audio turns out to be the best option, and it's currently the default. As mentioned before, the The WebSocket audio simply results in too much lag, while the full WebRTC option for both video and audio results in too much CPU usage. And we still need VNC for the input. And so this was sort of a delicate balance. Potentially the full WebRTC solution might be improved by using a GPU acceleration, but that sort of requires additional research at this time. And yeah, so this whole system is now available on GitHub. It integrates with PyWB, so if you have any PyWB collections, you can use it directly with the system and make your web archives accessible through a remote browser. And this is basically a simplified version of the system that's used in Conifer and with NFB. And so I'll do a quick demo of the PyWB remote browser system using Chrome 84, which is the latest browser that supports Flash. Now I want to do a very quick demo of the PyWB remote browser system. In this case, I've already pulled down the repository from GitHub, and I can start the project simply by running docker compose up. And in this case, I've actually already pulled the images down, and now I'll also pull Chrome 84, which is actually the last browser that we have that has support for Flash. And I've also added a PyWB collection, which contains one of the NFB projects called Out My Window. And I can see it here in the list of collections. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch to Chrome. And this is the remote browser system running on port 9020, which is a default port. From here, I can select the browser that I would like. In this case, I have quite a few browsers, but if you just pull down Chrome 84, that would be the only option. I have my collection, and then I can simply choose the URL and press enter. And yeah, so the remote browser will then start in an iframe, and it's immediately interactive. This is actually a Flash-based piece. Everything here that we're seeing is from Flash, and there's also audio. And now I'm going to turn it over to Humbert, who will explain how the system is integrated into the National Film Board infrastructure and a little bit more about this project. But if you were to run this on your own, this is exactly what you would see.
So now we'll see how we have integrated the remote browser with Flash inside into the NFB organization. First, who is NFB? NFB stands for National Film Board of Canada. We are a public institution. We exist since 1939, and we have approximately 14,000 video and more than 100 interactive production. By interactive production, we mean mainly website, but also mobile application, VR. For our video and for our website, we try to have a preservation concept. For interactive production, what do we preserve? The cataloging, so the description, the screen capture, the credit, the source asset, original video, source code, and the experience. For the movies, we follow standards like SMPTA standards. We describe the audio and video format file. And for the interactive work, we use the WAC file format. This is the well-known Open Archive Information System model. And we try to use it for interactive materials like we are using it for linear material. First, for the submission information package, we record the original work using many tools, like Web Recorder, WarpProx, and WarpIO. In the middle, we archive those files with Atempo. It's a system based on LTO band. For the dissemination information package, we have an enhanced WAC file. This WAC file is produced by an internal script. The goal of this enhanced WAC file is to improve the replay of our web archive and to preserve the experience. For example, we swap some resources to be sure that there is no random, to be sure that the authentication will pass. We add some other resources, for example, missing images, missing videos, missing static file. So if we miss it during the capture, we have it with the enhanced WAC file. This enhanced WAC file is played inside a Dockerized hot flash browser. In our case, it's a Chrome version 65 with Flash enabled inside. This browser is running in full screen mode to improve the experience too. So you don't have a browser inside the browser. The consumer is using modern browser like latest version of Chrome or latest version of Firefox to access to the old browser through VNC and WebRTC. He can directly consume the Flash web archive without any restriction. Who use Who archive? So first, internally, it's accessible to everyone through our media asset management system. For now, it's not open to public, mainly due to legal reasons, because some of our experience include sounds and video who have copyright and right of exploitation. We hope one day to open it publicly, at least for some work, probably not all. We are uploading the enhanced work and use it into a remote browser system for collaborators, people that rewrite the old website into a new website with no Flash. Teachers and students that are using this web archive for the class or for the research, and a researcher too. Now I will show you a video to show you how we have integrated into our media asset management system. This is our media asset management website, and now I will search for out my window. In interactive production, I see all the results. I will filter by interactive material to have only website. Now I can launch the real website because the other one is the participate event. Now at the top right we have View Archive Project, who will launch the remote browser with Flash inside. Note that I am currently in Wi-Fi and I am using a VPN, so the bandwidth is very limited. The Dockerized container is initialized and the WebRTC audio too with VNC. Now I can see the remote browser. We have made the choice to launch it in full screen mode without a navigation button. This website is 100% Flash. There is no HTML here. My local browser is Chrome, the latest version, with no Flash capabilities. I will choose a room. I can drag anywhere to move around the room. As you see, the reactivity is good. I will click to start the video. The video starts with a bomb sound with trumpets, so don't be afraid. When the narrator will begin to speak, try to see the synchronization with the lips and the sound. It's not so bad.
I could see so all these parts would it's like when you have a storm or something, so we'd have a huge light and then receive the bomb sound with maybe a sort of delay of 3 seconds. Each time there was bombing, funnily enough, my wife would go for the rooms because it's safer, and I would go out with my microphone and trumpet and play along the mount.
Now I will show you a 360-degree video, because in this website the 360 video are in small format and they don't occupy a big part of the screen. The bandwidth problem due to the Wi-Fi and VPN are gone, so the video is very free.
Ciudad cosmopolita, sus habitantes no nacen en ella, ahí se mezcla.